Hello, Facebook family. Welcome to another episode of Marriage Mondays with Nick and Trina Bretson. We're glad to have you here with us tonight, and we are moving the camera around. But we are going to be better about this, and we're going to get you this information we have for you tonight. We're going to talk about compliment and don't compete with your spouse. All right? You got anything you want to say to the people, man?
So this is Marriage Monday with Crown Kingdom Culture Center. So we are representing our church ministry, which is in North Augusta, South Carolina, just outside of Augusta. So if you live in Augusta, we are very close, and we encourage you, or in South Carolina, Aiken, North Augusta, Graniteville, and even we live way out in Evans, and it's definitely not too far to travel. So anybody in the Augusta area, the CSRA, let's just say that, in the CSRA, you are close enough that you really should come visit us. So we have service every Sunday at 10 a.m. and it does stream live, but we are also in the sanctuary, and more and more people are starting to come back out. And so we encourage you to be one of those. Come visit with us. So good evening, Alicia Mack, first one on. We appreciate you. As people are coming in, we encourage you to go ahead and share. Like the post, share it. We assume you're going to like it. You keep coming back. So we assume you're going to like it. So we probably should tag some people. You want to take a minute to do that, or if you talk, I'll do it on mine, and then you maybe can do yours or something, so we can make sure to get people accustomed to the 6 o'clock time, because it is different. So normally, or over the last couple of years, we have been meeting at 7, but we've upped the time to 6 p.m. And so we want to make sure that people are aware of that.
All right. While we got this time before the broadcast really started, we're talking about our topic. In our church sermons, we'll talk about faith and finances, and being trained to handle your finances in a certain way in this season. On Wednesday night, we're going to have a special program.
We're having financial representatives from financial institutions to come out. I'll let you go ahead and finish talking.
Yeah. They're going to come out to the church, and we're going to have a topic on how to budget, how to use your bank accounts, and basically some financial knowledge that you may need in order to get your finances in order for the upcoming year. So I think it's going to be a very, very informative session. So if you got time on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, come on out to Crown and get the information. It'll be something that I think is worthwhile to hear, or at least to just come get the information.
Right. We're making reference to Wednesday, February the 15th. That is when we'll have this particular special guest to come out. And a lot of times, even if your finances are solid, which, to be honest, I don't know, maybe lots of people do have a good handle on their finances, but I always feel like there's more to learn. You can always make it better. But I would dare say the majority probably falls on the side of needing improvement rather than on the side of I got it together and could probably teach some other people. Mm-hmm. So let's come out and take advantage of this resource, because that's what it is. So even something as simple as putting a budget together can be very challenging for some couples, and not having your finances to where they flow well. That is a big source of contention and even competition, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. Yeah, within the lives of couples, whether old or young, but especially those younger couples. When your money might not be right where you want it to be while you're young, and if you don't have good systems in place to help you to grow and to reach where you're trying to get, and to learn how to manage your finances early, it can be a very rough road trying to figure that out. So we know.
Yeah. So with that being said, we just gave you that little bit to maybe get you and interested enough to come out and join us for that special Bible study. It's going to be a workshop type of deal. So tonight, ready to start. Mm-hmm. So tonight we're going to talk about complement and don't compete with your spouse. Now, my wife is gonna, when she finished tagging folks, we're gonna talk about the word compliment and the synonym, not a synonym. It's the same thing as compliment. Okay, so she says she's gonna cover it, y'all. I'm gonna let her do her thing. So let us get started with tonight. Compliment and don't compete.
Yeah. So the word compliment, if you notice in the title, is spelled COMPLEMENT, and that's not an error. Most, I'm not going to say most, but I think it's a very common grammatical error that people confuse compliment the way we have it spelled with compliment being COMPLI. Compliment, it's pronounced the same way. There's no difference in the way the two are said, to my knowledge. But one has an E in the middle and the other has an I. And the one we're talking about tonight is compliment, meaning it's associated with the word completion, complete or completion. I know in math we learned, angles can be complementary of each other. You can have a compliment, angle can be a complement, or it means the completion of something. And compliment with an I is what most of us use that term more frequently, which is to give somebody some kind words or flattering words. Hello, those that are waving. I think I saw Mom. I see Emma Denny coming in. I don't want to ignore. I know I kind of stopped mid sentence. Sarah Gordon. So we want to acknowledge those people that have already chimed in with us today. And you all know what to do to like and share and talk back to us, across the comments. We need that. So, but I do want to make that distinction between compliment and compliment. Compliment with an E being a derivative of the word completion or to complete. And that's very important for what we want to talk about tonight. So let's distinguish that from compliment, which is basically giving words, giving kind words, flattering words, like a commendation or praise. All those things are compliment with an I. And those are two different words. And yeah, we need to make that distinction because I think a lot of people might not know that. You think?
I for one didn't really think about it that much, and it makes a difference. What you're talking about. So tonight we're going to talk about compliment your spouse and how y'all in your operation and not be competing couples. And the thing about being competing couples can there are things that happen when you're a competing couple. When you're competing with each other, there's a time for you can cause each other to be hostile towards each other.
You have winners and losers,
right? And you got winners and losers,
and that shouldn't be the case
no.
among married couples. That we win together, we lose together.
Yep. And competing couples, they celebrate the wins and losses. Not celebrate, they celebrate the losses of the losing couple. So that's a pretty hostile environment to be in.
Say that again. I missed something there.
If I win in something, say if we were competing against who's gonna make more money this year, and if I make more money than you do, I'm celebrating your loss because I beat you in that. But that has no place in a marriage.
No, because if whatever is done for the marriage, we both are partakers of that. It's for us as we're a team. So we never compete against one another. Now we might compete against some things in life that we want to win over, but we do that together. We're on the same team.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the team concept when you're talking about complimenting each other. You're talking about the team concept, us doing this together.
Right.
Us getting from point A to point B together. Not if I get to point B before you do. Right. That's not what we're doing. That's what in your marriage. That's what together. You do. We get there together,
and we help each other.
You got to,
and that's where we have the room to complement one another, to supplement, to fill in those weak gaps. Where you're weak, then hopefully, if we chose spouses well, then I have a strength in those areas where you have a weakness, and so that makes us stronger together than we could ever be apart.
Right.
And that's a concept that really should ring true in your marriage as you go about making decisions and about plans for your marriage, and the way you face obstacles together. Lean on one another in those areas where one person has a strength, because that strength is a gift to the relationship.
Mm-hmm. That absolutely is, because my weakness and my strength should be covered in our unity.
Right, exactly.
You know, my strength shouldn't be the thing that overtakes the whole relationship. My strength should be somewhere she can lean on my strength in order to get accomplished what needs to be done, and I should be able to lean on her strengths to get complimented on what things should compliment me on getting things that I'm weak at. So when you do that with each other, that builds a stronger bond, that builds a stronger marriage, that builds a stronger team
It
when you're with each other.
does. It does. It makes the whole team win. And along those lines, something Bishop said yesterday, that I felt like he kind of wanted to go into more, but chose not to. But I think we need to mention is he talked about how important it is to allow your spouse to be wholly who they are, not to get in your spouse's way to where your spouse can't do the things that they feel God has led them to do or to be. We want to be able to support one another so that you want your spouse to grow as a person, because that helps the marriage to grow. And so if you constantly want to hold your spouse back and only want to focus on the things that you feel are important for you as an individual, then that's not really a very unified way to approach your marriage as a whole. You want your spouse to be the best they can be, because that makes you better. You're one. That unit becomes stronger with the strength of each person.
Right.
So allow your spouse to grow and to develop in a way that's healthy for the marriage relationship.
Yep. And it's illustrated in the Bible, when God took and said, it's not good for man to be alone.
Right. That's in Genesis 2. Okay. 18.
It's not good for man to be alone. So he created him a suitable help.
Yeah. Suitable, adaptable, capable. She was a good complement to Adam.
All right. You want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Oh, that's it.
Well, the terms that we talked about yesterday in reference to Eve as a helper was that she was capable, and that this was a format for being aware that when you add people to your life in general, you want people who are capable, suitable, and complementary to you and to your purpose and destiny moving forward. But it's even more important in marriage. I mean, your marriage is one of the most important. Who you marry is one of the most decisions you will ever make in your life. I mean, granted, the decision of salvation is probably the number one decision to make that decision about accepting Christ. But I'm trying to tell you, who you marry, that is a very, very, very important decision not to be taken lightly. And particularly for man, if we look at God's design, the purpose he designed a woman for, and him bringing Eve to Adam as his wife, he made sure that she was capable, she was able to do the things that he needed. She was suitable to him, she was fit for him, and she was complementary to him. She was a good compliment, not flattery, not flattering words. That's not the point. The point is that she's able to complement him, to fill in those gaps, because it wasn't good for him to be alone. He needed a partner. And so God provided that partner who was perfectly suitable and adaptable to him, and she was capable as well. So Eve was a huge asset to Adam when she came along. She had a purpose.
Right.
And the same is true for a wife all these years later. You want to choose, if you're wise as a man, when you are choosing who you will marry, it's not wise to only focus on physical appearance or what she brings to the table. For whatever reason, people choose a wife that doesn't have anything to do with purpose. But if you look at the purpose God has given you as a man, and you look for someone who is complementary to that destiny, that journey that you're taking, and someone who's capable and able, somebody who's a whole person by themselves. That's the strength of bringing a marriage, a woman into your life, the strength of getting married.
Right. And just sitting here thinking about you know us, how we got together, and what made us work. I don't think at this point in my life that anybody else could have suited me like Trina. Maybe we done been together long enough for me not to think that. But at the time, and just thinking back, we had other options. We could have went other places. We dated other people. We did all that. But what we saw in each other at that young of an age, we knew we had something special.
Yeah,
at the time. True. So it was a God thing. I'm not gonna sit here and say that we were soulmates. I don't know if I can put that out there, but I knew God put us together to do and be what we are and what we're becoming today. So when, like she said, when you're choosing a spouse, you got to go through a prayer life. You got to have a prayer life. You better be spiritually connected, and you'll have your own spiritual growth and because before we got married, both of us we were pretty much a church going folk. But she grew up in church. I really didn't go in church. It was hit and miss. But I knew God and played a very important part in my life and for the person that I became. But being with her, it assisted me in following the life that I'm living right now. That is righteous and holy. So without her, would I be at this point in my life? I don't know. I would be at some point, but I don't know if I would be here.
Well, you showed Floyd out a lot of compliments with an eye today.
That's the truth.
I appreciate it. That's very sweet.
Okay.
But we definitely helped.
That's God,
but we helped each other. What you mean?
That is because that's natural, because that's how we are. I ain't no gonna touch you like that, but that's all right though, y'all. Good things come out of this.
I think we both had I think a lot more foresight than we knew.
Right.
We really didn't. We weren't as wise as it might sound like we were. I don't think so. I think God was just really looking out for us in us choosing one another. He knew far better than we did. So and I do know that prayer had a lot to do with it, because I knew I didn't fully know. It's an important decision.
It is.
And so I'm thankful that God confirmed for me that you were the right choice for me. But that's not how it started out. I mean, that was really after we were engaged, when I'm like, oh, wait a minute. God, is this the person I should marry? And, I had to get some clarification from God and be willing to walk away if he said no. And so I had to get to that point, because that wasn't the approach that I had taken from the beginning. I was looking at physical appearance. I was looking at intelligence. I was looking at, what kind of, are you hard working? Are you going to be able to be a strong leader and provider for the family? Those are the things I was looking at. I really, and also, are you saved? Those were really the things that I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And that really wasn't enough. But the fact that, God gave me a confirmation, after he let me know, if I say no, are you willing to walk away from this engagement? Okay. And I had to be willing to do that. It took a minute for me to get to that point, but I had to be willing to put God first. And I'm thankful, because now that I look this far down the line, never would have made it. You hear me? We never would have made it if I had not put God first. Never would have made it. We would not be sitting here right now together having this conversation.
And that's us complimenting each other.
Absolutely. You trying to reel me back in?
Yeah, just a little bit. But see, that all that works, for this topic we're talking about tonight, because we may be bringing some stuff to the forefront that you may need to examine in your marriage.
Yeah.
Or if you are not married yet, take heed of what we're saying and address those things that are in your life right now. Say the person that you're with is the person for you.
I am reminded while you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
because you were kind of going into talking about ways couples complement one another. Is that where you were headed?
Kind of so it is.
Okay. So I noticed that some couples, I mean, it is so evident how they are so well matched. For example, you have in the world of sports these coaches, and then you have the wives who were maybe cheerleaders growing up, but or they were sports fanatics themselves, and they just jump right in, and the two of them together are excellent in ministering to the kids. They support each other. Or the wife is able to support the husband, or vice versa, because some
Right.
women are coaches too. And it's very obvious that that's the way that they complement one another. Same thing with pastors and wives, or even some people that are military. I sometimes look at military families, and it's just amazing to me how these women that stay back, when their husbands are deployed, and the way they can just take charge of everything and run the household and the children and the business of the family. They're able and manage the fact that their husband is so far away and in a dangerous situation. That to me is such a beautiful grace that those military wives have. And some women really wear that well. And then once their husbands come back home, they're able to, in some cases, relax, and jail is one. It's a beautiful thing. But then you have some people, I think, like us, who are not traditional. We don't fall into those roles like other people might. We've had to carve out our own way of making our relationship work for us. And I think it goes back to that point that I was bringing up before that Bishop Bush mentioned in church, which is to allow your spouse to be who God made them to be.
All right.
Don't require them to befriend the same people that you might want to befriend. It's great when you get a couple and both sets, males and females in a couple, jail, but sometimes they don't. But it's not necessary for you to force your spouse into that situation if it's not something that you both can enjoy, or that your spouse is willing to make adjustment for. For us with the coaching, I'm not a sports fan, never have been. Although my family is full of sports fans, I'm probably the only one that's not when I think about it.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
maybe.
I can think of everybody else is sports fans, in my family that I can think of. But anyway, that just never interests me at all. And so the fact that we ended up being coupled, that really didn't change. I mean, I would go to games, in our younger years before we had kids, and became a whole lot harder just to support him. But he made it clear to me early on that was not a requirement. That's not something that he was requiring of me. But see, I thought because that's what the other wives did, that's what I was supposed to do, even though I was miserable the whole time and didn't know what was going on with the game.
Right.
And so once he was like, "Listen, you ain't, what are you doing?"
Like, this is not it. You having to get those two babies ready to come over here to watch me play a game or a middle school game, and it was
a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah, because you were
and I
working an hour
recognized
away.
it. Yep.
It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what happened is, what I was saying is that he recognized that it was a sacrifice for me to do, and it was a lot. And he was more interested in me doing what was, I think, more organic and what came naturally to me based upon where my gifts lie, which were in taking care of those children. And that was the thing that he valued more than me being seen at a game. Because that's all it was being seen. Because I wasn't getting anything out of it, and I don't know that the girls were. And if he's not getting anything out of us being there, then we really had to just focus and do what works for us. So he made it clear to me that what he needed me for, as far as supporting him in his career, is to make sure these kids are covered, make sure
Right.
they are lacking in love and attention and the things that they need, to pay attention to the details of the kids. And that was something that I thrived in, and that came natural for me. And that was the kind of help that you were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was important that we didn't look to other people's relationships and the way other people flowed or try to imitate that. We had to customize our lives for. He didn't need an assistant. He didn't need me to be his assistant, to be his secretary. He didn't need me handling the paperwork of his job. He don't need me, physically being there with him. That wasn't something he was looking for or needed.
They need it. Because I had a female assistant coach that did all that. And,
Because you do need that when you have girls.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how we complimented each other. She explained it very well, better than I could have.
Because that's my
That's what
thing.
you do. Mm-hmm. So that's what the compliment was was I needed her to be as comfortable and as relaxed and us being with each other, and me letting her be who she was. And she let me be who I was, that coach. Now, the only place we really bumped heads with the coaching and me was the time management. Mm-hmm. If I was a better time manager, that could have been a lot easier back in those days, because, I just thought coaching had to take a little bit of time, but that's another topic for another day. But in that aspect, that's how we complimented each other. That's how we kind of did our marriage through the years.
Yeah.
Whatever, we have an issue with, how can the other person compliment the other person? What you got a problem with? How can I help?
Right.
What is it that you do well that I don't? Okay, I got this issue with cooking cabbage. So show me how to cook the cabbage. She was good at cooking and showed me some ways how to, this is just figuratively speaking, cooking cabbage. So those are things that we did to compliment each other. And that's how we continue to operate like that.
And for some people, it's finances. One spouse is good at managing finances, or better than the other, or might enjoy it more than the other. So it's important to not be so tied down to gender roles, saying, oh, well, my dad managed the finance of the family, so that means you got to manage the finances of the family. So it's important for you to be able to look at yourselves as a couple and say, okay, who's better at this skill? And let's make a decision based on that. And if both people are capable and able of doing it, you may decide you want to always do it together, something that both of you do together. Or you may assign one person, that task based upon time.
Right.
Or based upon if one person is more tech savvy than the other, if you're going to do everything electronically. But you have to look at yourselves as an individual couple, find out where the gifts lie among the two of you. One thing for us is with wording, grammar and wording, though that's something that I'm stronger in. So when he has to do something, especially on behalf of both, something we're doing like with marriage ministry or anything that he might need my assistance in, then I'm willing to be available to him for that as needed. But it's up to him to decide how much support he needs in that area.
Right.
I'm not going to force it on him because I've tried and that doesn't work. So we have to be respectful of one another as independent adults. And math is not really my thing. I don't enjoy it. It takes more brain power than what I'm usually willing to put forward with it. So I usually defer to him for those things that are numbers related, or even some things around the house with getting things done. Like right now, we got this whole issue with the stove. We keep trying to get repair. I don't really have the patience for it, and my solution is just pay somebody to do it. And he is like, why would you just jump to that that solution? There's some minor things we can do that we can try before we get to the point of having to spend money for it. And so I don't have patience for that. I don't have the skill for it. I have zero knowledge of things that are electrical. And so that's something that he has a strength in. And so I have no problem stepping back and just give me an update, let me know what's going on with it and allowing him to take care of that. And that's most things around the house, mechanical things or, just the operations of the house. That's something he's very good at.
Okay. So we hope what we have given you tonight is helpful. I mean, you could take it and apply it to your marriage and or give it to somebody else or direct them to this broadcast.
Share it.
When it's, and share it. Yeah. So with that said, learn to compliment each other and not compete. I mean, that's a pretty good title tonight.
Be a compliment.
Right,
don't
be a
compete.
compliment.
Well, happy Valentine's Day.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to you.
It's a little early.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little early,
but
we have tomorrow. I will say that with us being more consistent with date nights, Valentine's Day, we will have to step our game up for it to be special. We have to do a trip or something for it to feel special, because what we used to do for Valentine's Day is what we were doing on a weekly basis. So, but I think that's a good thing.
Yep. But for those of you out there that don't go out regularly,
make it special.
Make it special.
Yeah.
Enjoy the day. We know it's
or the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be, just that day. Or even if you take a trip later on in the month or something, or do something special together. I mean, eat outside instead of inside. Or go somewhere you wouldn't normally go. Go to a play, a concert. Do something so that you just kind of mark celebrating your spouse.
That's it. So I guess those are closing remarks.
That is all I have.
All right. With that said, from the lady and the coach, we love y'all. Good night.